Hello there, manic.mercurian here, and in this video, as you are aware, I'm going to be ranking the signs by, I haven't worked out exactly how to word this yet, but I'm basically ranking the signs by how likely they are to believe in astrology. So, certain signs I've noticed are much more involved in astrology, generally speaking. When I'm doing readings, sometimes I'll get a certain sun sign that I go, wow, I'm surprised you're even interested in astrology, because most people with certain signs aren't into astrology. I don't know if you've noticed that. But before I do all that, I wanted to kind of paint the picture for, I don't know, the environment surrounding me doing this video. Basically, I woke up today and this is one of those rare days in Florida where it is very dreary. It's supposed to rain all day. And I think us down here, we're just not really used to that. We're used to it being sunny every day. And so when we do get a day that's just consistently dreary all day, we just want to stay inside. We want to get cozy. We're not used to it. So, okay, so how do I say this? Basically, in this video, I'm going to do exactly that. But by getting cozy, what I'm going to do is I've got some, I'm going to put a twist to this video. I've got some special water that I have purchased, because that's what any sane person does on a cloudy day when they're lacking motivation. They go to the store and they get a bottle of special water, right? To be totally honest with you, I'm supposed to be doing the week forecast right now, but I just had zero motivation to do that. And it's better to not do it at all than to do it with no motivation. So I'm hoping this special water will motivate me. And basically, to put some stakes, or I don't know if stakes is the right word, but to put an interesting twist to this video, I've prepared 11 half shots of water. So I'll start by doing one after Aquarius. We're going to go in alphabetical order through the signs. So I'm going to do one half after Aquarius and then do one after each sign. And then I'll stop after Taurus and before Virgo, if that makes sense. So basically one between each of the signs. And to go with this special water, I've prepared some lime juice. Well, I didn't make it. I just have it ready is what I mean. This is a disaster, but I hope, I feel like only the diehard fans will be watching this at all right now. But, okay, so yeah, let's get into it. I think that's enough jabber. Okay, so let's go in alphabetical order. I like doing these things in alphabetical order because it's just such a weird order if you actually consider, the meanings of the signs. I don't know. It's an intriguing order to me. So let's start out with Aquarius. And you know what? I feel like I should start out with, I've talked so much about this special water. Let's just go ahead and do it. So maybe I'll be short at the end. That's fine. I mean, because this is going to be a lot, right? I don't know. It's going to be a lot. I had a big breakfast too, so. Okay. Y'all, it has been a while. We don't really do much of this in my house anymore. We used to. I literally had to wash out all these glasses, these 11 glasses that I have, because they were dusty. That's how long it's been. It's been many moons. Aquarius. Okay, I'll tell you right off the bat, Aquarius is not going to be one of the ones that believes in astrology. I think for some of you this might be surprising, because Aquarius has actually been called the sign of astrology, because Aquarius has to do with people and ideas, and isn't astrology about people and ideas? Well, sure, but when you actually have individuals that have a lot of Aquarius in their charts, what are the traits of Aquarius? They're very practical. They're also a bit stubborn, in particular stubborn with their beliefs, stubborn with ideas. So Aquarius is one of those signs that if something doesn't kind of make sense right off the bat, they're not going to be super intrigued by it. They can be open-minded sometimes, but all in all, I don't know. I don't know if your experience is any different. Please let me know in the comments if it is. But I'm going to, oh, whoops, I put it in the wrong. I'm going to put Aquarius in the non-believer section. I think they're one of the signs least likely to believe in astrology or to be interested in it at all. I actually have a funny story. So I've told this before, but I was sitting in a bar. I literally guessed, kind of out of nowhere, in my awkward way as usual, but I just guessed out of nowhere to the guy on my right. I said, "Are you an Aquarius?" We had hardly talked at all. I don't know if we had even talked at all. But he pretty much said, without even skipping a beat, he said, "No, and I'm not into that stuff." Or no. He said he was, and he's not into that stuff. So I am an Aquarius, but I'm not interested in that. And I was like, I just guessed your sign. Well, in my head, I don't think I said all this, but I was like, I just guessed your sign correctly, and you're not even intrigued by it at all. He was a typical Aquarius. That's how I guessed. Anyway, so yeah, Aquarius, non-believer. I know that there are Aquariuses that are into astrology. I mean, there are people from every sign that are into astrology. So don't come at me in the comments saying, "Oh, but this person's into astrology." You know, this, as with many things in astrology, this is about generalizations, right? Okay, Aquarius, non-believer. Aries, also non-believer. And maybe I'll just do one before each sign, since that's kind of what I started off with. I'm already regretting this. Like, I thought it would be a fun idea to like get myself motivated or at least shaken up, you know, and then just sitting down to do this, I'm already really regretting this. I can always stop. It's not like I signed a contract that I have to finish this. Okay, Aries. Honestly, like if there were more tiers, I think I would put Aries in the least likely out of all of them. I need a little more lime juice for that one. I can already tell I'm gonna run out of juice. Do you like my classy cup? It's actually not mine. It's my roommate's. Okay, Aries, least likely. And with Aries, it's not even just about belief, it's also about interest. And I think that's kind of like a side factor in this kind of ranking, because it's not even just about believing that astrology is possible. It's also about like being interested in it or not. You know, some signs would basically say like, okay, even if it is real and it's a real thing, I just don't care about it. There's no interest. And Aries, okay, for one, Aries, you know, we're talking about multiple placements, you know, sun signs, moon signs, whatever. But sun signs in particular, sun in Aries is exalted, and that means that Aries sun people kind of fit in with the group. They're popular, they're cool, generally speaking, of course. They naturally kind of fit in with the mainstream more, and I think this makes them less likely to be interested in kind of counterculture ideas, obscure ideas, etc. Also, Aries is cardinal fire. They are probably like the most fiery sign of the fire signs, if that makes sense. And the fire element has everything to do with being physical, you know, going out and physically adventuring. Let's do something. Let's start something. So that's what Aries is into. They're not nearly as interested in all this like self, you know, analyzing and introspection and reflection. You know, that's just not Aries at all. They're out doing stuff. They don't want to sit here and process things and, you know, let's do this like therapeutic exercise and all that. That's just not Aries jam at all. You know what I mean? So, you know, and really, I think astrology, although it is spiritual, much of it is kind of like therapeutic. I feel like I'm a therapist pretty much, not in this particular video, but you get my drift though. So Aries, non-believer, I would say they're probably the most consistent sign that is not interested in astrology, doesn't believe it, doesn't care if it is real or not, who cares, whatever. This whole concept is trash to them, which is fine. I completely respect that. They're just about a different way of life. Okay, let's do a little pre-juice before this one. All right, special water 3 before we do Cancer. Okay, and now I'm getting a little intimidated because usually I kind of plan these things out when I'm doing a ranking video. I like write it down how I'm gonna rank them before, but I actually didn't do that for this one. So this is gonna be a journey. Don't judge me by these like later rankings because they may or may not be accurate. I don't know what I'm gonna be doing by then. Cancer. Okay, so this gets a little more interesting. Aquarius and Aries was pretty easy for me. They are not into astrology at all. Cancer, though, I mean, coming off of Aries, Cancer is much more interested in, you know, they're very emotional, so they're going to have a lot more emotional awareness, you know, so they may be a lot more aware of the like different oscillations of, you know, I feel this way these times, and I feel other ways other times. And I just think that difference, that contrast kind of, it may make many Cancerians a little more interested in astrology, into understanding feelings and things like that. Excuse me. Cancer is also a bit more reflective as well and introspective. So I would put Cancer in the curious section. I don't think they are like the most gung-ho about astrology. Astrology is kind of an abstract idea. It's a concept, and Cancer is not the most intellectual sign necessarily. I think they are another sign that's going to be more, in the moment and a little more physical in nature. However, like I said, there is that kind of emotional component as well. So overall, I'd put them in the curious section. I think water signs in general are, they're known for being into ideas and more feelings than ideas. But I think the two can go kind of hand in hand. So overall, there's kind of a lot pulling it either way, but I would put it in the kind of curious, maybe like the neutral side of curious. I almost want to put it in neutral. Cancer. We'll put Cancer in the curious section. We'll leave it there. Oh my god, are we already done with that one? I might not be able to do this. I don't know if I'm going to post this at all. Maybe I'll post it on my second channel. If you're really into my concept, my content, you can go to Manic's Miscellaneous. I post different, just random stuff there that may or may not fit with this channel. I put over there, or maybe I did post it there, and that's where you are now. I don't know. Okay, that one wasn't that bad. I really didn't measure them out very consistently, so some are a little more than others, but I aimed for like half on each one. Capricorn. Okay, yes. This is kind of a rough start. I didn't realize how rough this whole beginning part of the video would be. Capricorn, I will tell you, they're not the most into astrology. Capricorn is known for being ambitious. This is like the CEO sign. They're about, money and stats, achievements. They want to accomplish this, accomplish that. None of that really involves astrology. I mean, I guess you could involve astrology into your ambitions, but I just don't think the most ambitious types are necessarily the ones that, like, again, I think astrology is more about kind of sitting back and like analyzing and processing, how do we feel about this? Let's look at the patterns and stuff like that. Like, none of that. I just think that whole kind of mentality is very different than a more ambitious mentality that a sign like Capricorn would have. It's kind of like about spirituality versus ambition. If you're ambitious, I think you're more driven by like status, wealth, power, etc. That's completely different than finding true inner emotional satisfaction, like one would do with astrology. Does that make sense? So Capricorn, they're just not as interested in talking about feelings and personality traits and things like that. What else? They're an earth sign. Earth signs are a little bit more practical, in a way, a little bit like Aquarius, even though that's an air sign. But the earth signs are just not as open to strange ideas. If something doesn't make sense to them immediately right off the bat, then they're not going to want to get involved with it and invest their time into something that could just be BS at the end of the day. Does that make sense? So Capricorn, they're just so realistic, so practical. They just don't have time. They don't have the energy for like getting lost in this kind of abstract idea, that's pushing the boundaries and things like that. It's another sign where it's like, it's not just about not believing it, although that is definitely a factor here. But even if astrology were established and it were said to be real, I just don't think the interest would be there regardless, if that makes sense. All right, let's mix it up a little bit, though. I forgot I'm supposed to take, man, it's like just one after another. All right, well, and my glasses are about to get a lot less interesting looking. They're going to get a lot more plain. I think doing the juice before is a lot better. Regret. I already regret this. Before and after. There we go. It's a sandwich. It's a special water sandwich. I feel like I'm going to get warm. Should take off. I don't know why I dressed like a Midwesterner today, but all right, Gemini. Gemini gets a lot more interesting. So Gemini, this is the first sign that is like very intellectual, other than Aquarius. I would think Aquarius would be more interested in astrology, but they're just not. But anyway, we're talking about Gemini. So Gemini is mutable air. They are very detached. They are all about ideas. And Gemini is a little bit different than Aquarius. Well, I mean, you can see I'm ranking it much differently, but The reason why Gemini, although Gemini and Aquarius typically have a lot in common, I think they're very different here. The reason why is because Aquarius is fixed air, so they have that stubbornness when it comes to ideas. They believe in what they believe in, and that's that. You're not going to convince them of changing or modifying that in any way. But Gemini is mutable air, so they're so nimble. That's what makes them excellent learners, because they're so free. They're so able to admit that they're wrong and to grow and to modify their beliefs or accept new beliefs or get rid of old beliefs. Maybe Gemini can kind of see the truth in many different angles, many different things. So I think all of this kind of combines to make them very open-minded. Gemini is one of the most open-minded signs. So Gemini is one of those signs that may say, okay, well, astrology, at the face of it, it doesn't seem like it makes sense, but let's hear it out anyway. Another thing too is Gemini is interested in people. So, astrology is all about people, understanding themselves. Gemini loves to analyze themselves and talk about themselves, but they also love to analyze and talk about other people as well. So it's almost kind of a perfect storm, I think, where Gemini would be very interested in astrology. And again, obviously these are all generalizations. Not every person with a Gemini placement is going to be super intrigued by astrology, but I do think many of them would be. So I'm going to put Gemini in the I believe category, in the top category for astrology. Next is Leo, and I'm really beginning to feel the water. And yeah, it's interesting. This is also where we get to these like plane glasses. It really does look like water, doesn't it? That looks exactly like water to me. I don't want to do this. I should back out. Should I back out? Yo, that was rough. I don't know if you saw that. I I need to get better. See, I've lost this skill. I've lost this practice. I don't really do this anymore. I hadn't finished it all the way, so I had to do like a 1-2. That was pretty rough. Anyway, Leo. Okay, so Leo is going to be kind of a similar boat to Aries. I am going to put it in the skeptical category, but the reason why is because, so for the most part, Leo is very similar to Aries, right? Both are very fiery. Leo, like Aries, is going to be a lot more interested in physically doing something, being, hands-on activities, being physically engaged with their environment. It makes me think of, if you're into Myers-Briggs, it makes me think of extroverted sensing types. That's typically what Leo and Aries are. And I just think with that type of personality, again, there's nothing supporting being into astrology, because astrology is all about like processing, integrating, as I've said already in this video. And it's just, that's completely different than like being currently physically engaged in your environment. I think it can be very complementary. I think, it can behoove us to kind of take breaks and process things, analyze things, and then we can re-immerse ourselves into the world and maybe get a richer understanding, right? I think the two go hand in hand, but I think they are kind of complementary. They're opposing ways of living, basically. So Leo would be more on that side of, they are fire signs. They're gonna be bored by sitting around just talking and analyzing. They're gonna be they want to get more physically active. I am getting warm now. Yes, okay, but why did I put Leo in the skeptical category and not the non-believer category? So Leo is all of those things that I said. They are very like physically oriented and not as intellectual as some other signs. They're not as interested in just like sitting and talking about ideas. Let's like change this look a little bit. There we go. Now I look gangster though. Let's put these away for now. Okay, sorry. Leo, what was I saying? But with Leo, kind of what I'm getting to eventually is that Leo has a certain openness about them, okay? And I think this gets really interesting with what signs you combine Leo with. So if this is a Leo sun person, if you just mix like an air moon sign or something, or maybe a different intellectual moon sign, like maybe Virgo, maybe. If you just mix a little bit of intellectual energy, the openness of Leo combines with that intellectual nature, and it makes them very intellectually open. Does that make sense? So, or you could do the same with like spirituality. You could combine Leo sun with like Pisces moon, for example. That would create a person who's very open spiritually and emotionally. So I hope I'm explaining myself in a way that makes sense. But Leo is just so open that I think they're a little bit more open-minded than other signs like Aries. Especially, there's many different combinations with Leo, of combinations that could result in people that are actually very open to spirituality and mysticism. You do have that dynamic of sun being in domicile in Leo. So Leo sun signs in particular, they are kind of part of the mainstream. They're popular. They're well received. In a way, it's very similar to Aries sun. Sun is exalted in Aries, in domicile in Leo. Both Aries and Leo are part of the crowd. They're part of the the clique. I hope I'm not scaring you. I'm just like processing everything. But yeah, so I mean that would be one point, kind of saying that Leo would be not as interested in counterculture ideas, but then again, you've got that sheer openness that comes with Leo as well. Leo has to do with the sun. They're into everything under the sun. So I think there's that little bit of curiosity in them. Overall, I'd say they're not as interested in astrology, but there are definitely some very interesting aspects of Leo that could sway them way on the other side of the spectrum as well. Okay, what's weird? I actually feel kind of better now. I feel like I can do this next one. I feel like I'm okay for now. That was a winning mugshot right there. I was kind of curious, like, what I would feel like doing this. Like, am I just gonna feel like crap, or is this actually gonna be fun? I think this might be fun. I'm not really sure. Okay. All right. So we did Leo. Next would be Libra. We're only like halfway through, almost. Okay. So Libra is interesting. So they're definitely intellectual. I think any of the intellectual signs would be generally more into astrology, with the exception of Aquarius. But Libra is very intellectual. They like ideas. They're also interested in people, so that would attract them to astrology as well. So yeah, they have the potential for being very interested in astrology. Libra is also one of those signs, kind of like Gemini, where they're into kind of whatever everyone else is doing, if that makes sense. Libra can kind of see truth to every side of things. They're open to kind of multifaceted views or multifaceted perspectives, I guess. So that could kind of allow them to be more open to something obscure and abstract like astrology. So far everything I've said kind of skews them in favor of being into astrology, but there's something that just makes me hold back though from putting them all the way at the top of this chart. I think the main thing is that, like, contrasting Libra from Gemini for a second, Libra is just not as experimental. They're not as radical. Libra wants the safe option. They want to go with, what is everyone else doing? What is the option that's going to be the least risky for me? That's what Libra wants. They don't want to do anything too weird. I mean, Libra likes getting weird sometimes, but they don't want to rock the boat too much. Does that make sense? And, astrology is a counterculture idea. It's pseudoscience. That's kind of what the consensus is. It's supposed to be BS, and so I think that would kind of skew Libra away from astrology a little bit. Libra wants to go with whatever everyone else is doing, whatever everyone else kind of thinks. They can see every aspect of things. So if Libra is around other people that are into astrology, then they'll kind of go with the flow and be into that. But the opposite is true as well. I think, if they're around people that hate astrology, then they're not going to be into astrology either. Does that make sense? So generally, I think Libra has a lot of potential into being into astrology. I think overall as a sign, they would be interested in it. It's just that they want to go with whatever the consensus goes with. If our consensus in the world was interested in astrology, I think Libra would be gung-ho, way at the top, totally invested in astrology. But because our society is not there, That's why I put Libra a little bit lower, if that makes sense. Okay, I don't see a lot of these left. That's good. I feel weirdly clear-headed right now. I don't know. I don't know if that checks out. Why do I feel like I have to look at the camera as I'm drinking it? That's actually really cringy. Maybe I'll post this on my second channel first and then just see it. I don't know. Okay, next is Pisces. So, come on now. This should be easy. I feel like this should be very easy. Pisces, we're going to put that all the way at the top. Is Pisces traditionally intellectual? No, but you don't have to be intellectual necessarily to be into astrology. I think Pisces would be probably the most interested in astrology out of any of the signs. Pisces is mutable water. They are mostly emotional, and kind of like what I described with Cancer, they oscillate between all these different emotions, different feelings. I think that in itself kind of sets Pisces up to be more inclined towards spirituality, and they see different sides of things. That leads me to one of the differences between Pisces and Cancer, though. Pisces is mutable water, so they see all the different angles, all the different aspects to things, kind of like Gemini in a way. So that makes Pisces very open-minded, open to different ideas, different belief systems. Since we are kind of talking about sun signs, generally speaking, as well as other signs as well, but anyone who does have sun in Pisces, most of them are going to have Mercury in Pisces as well. Mercury has to do with, as you probably know, it has to do with how you think and how you communicate, what ideas you may be open to or not. And for those people that do have Sun and Mercury in Pisces, Mercury is in fall in Pisces. It's debilitated. And with any planet in detriment or fall, it makes you more inclined to think for yourself, to be more individualistic, and also to be more open to counterculture ideas. You're going to be more counterculture. You're going to be less mainstream. You're going to be more on the fringes of society, so to speak. So I think that is a factor here, having not just Sun in Pisces, but Mercury in Pisces in particular. With Mercury debilitated, they're going to be more open to these obscure ideas, and there's kind of this mentality of, I don't care if everyone else thinks it's wrong, I'm still going to be open to this idea and see if there is merit in it. So there's that component to it. But yeah, I mean, what else can I say? Pisces is spiritual. I think all the mutable signs are a little bit detached as well. So Pisces has this range where, yes, they are a water sign, and they're actually one of the most emotional signs, but they're also surprisingly detached as well. And I think that oscillation within itself of being both emotional as well as detached sets them up for having really impressive self-awareness. And I think astrology could be a part of that, I don't know. I think astrology, what am I trying to say? I think people that have that detachedness and that intellectual ability, but also that heavy emotion as well, I don't know. I just think that combination of being a thinker and a feeler inclines you to be more interested in astrology, to look for the bigger answers, ask the bigger questions, find the bigger answers, and, maybe astrology would be a part of that. I don't know. Does that make sense? I'm just rambling. I'm getting a little lost here. What better sign to do that with than Pisces, though? All right, so now we're on Sagittarius, and I feel like this was a good idea. Is that stereotypical of me? I don't know. If you're watching this, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're thinking right now. You probably think I'm crazy. Maybe I am crazy. Sagittarius. Excuse me. I am just falling apart here. So Sagittarius is actually an interesting segue from Pisces because of that whole dynamic that I just talked about of, those that do have Sun in Pisces will often have Mercury in Pisces, and Mercury is debilitated in Pisces, so they're going to be kind of obscure, counterculture, etc. You've got the same dynamic, or a very similar dynamic, going on with Sagittarius, because if we are talking about kind of loosely about sun signs, Those with Sun and Sagittarius are usually going to have Mercury in Sagittarius as well. Mercury is in detriment in Sagittarius, so that makes those people more interested in obscure ideas. They think for themselves, etc. So that definitely boosts Sagittarius way higher on this kind of spectrum. On the other hand, though, we have to remember that Sagittarius is a fire sign. So, remember where I placed Leo and Aries. Fire signs are more physical in nature. They're going to want to be more physically engaged with their world rather than like sitting back and analyzing. So Sagittarius is both. They are intellectual, they're deep feelers, they're deep thinkers, but they're also very hands-on as well. I almost admire as well as pity Sagittarius for just having so much on their plate. I mean, that is, it's beautiful. It's a mess, but it's very beautiful when it's all balanced. But all in all, honestly, I think I'm going to put Sagittarius in the neutral category because, I think I pretty much summed it up. They've got that openness and obscure ideas. They can be very intellectual. They can be deep feeling as well, which can kind of go along with that and make them have that potential for having a very rich understanding of astrology. But on the other hand, they can be a little bit more belligerent as well. They can be a lot more, this is like the party animal sign. They may or not be interested in this level of introspection and reflection. They might be a lot, it depends on, like let's say if we're talking about Sun and Sagittarius, it depends on what else is in their chart. If they are if their chart more encapsulates the mutable side of Sagittarius, then they will be very open-minded, very intellectual, very open toward, obscure ideas like astrology. If they more resonate with the fiery side of Sagittarius, like if the rest of their chart is very fiery, they're not going to be interested in astrology. They're going to be more interested in physical experiences. Okay? All right. Okay, 2 left. I think I can do this. I don't feel like I'm slurring at all. Am I slurring? I hope not. I don't want to get self-conscious. And I still have juice left. This is so amazing. We've just got Scorpio, Taurus, and Virgo. I know you can't see Virgo because it's hiding, but I'll bring it out. Virgo's shy. I think I'm going to need just a little bit more juice. Hold on one sec. Oh, there it is. I lost it. Okay. We are almost done with this. I don't think I've ever drank on one of my videos. I've thought about it for a long time. I've had different ideas of videos to do where I would be drinking, but I haven't actually done it. Okay, so Scorpio. And let's bring Virgo into the mix as well. All right, Scorpio, Taurus, Virgo. See, this is why I think it's interesting, this whole alphabetical order, because you get these more like heavy yin signs at the end of the order, like with Scorpio, Taurus, Virgo, which is just so kind of weirdly fitting. And the beginning is Aquarius, Aries. Like, it almost seems like there's some kind of special design there. Maybe there is, I don't know. Okay, but with Scorpio, Scorpio is interesting. It almost has that dynamic that I was talking about with Pisces and Sagittarius. Technically, Scorpio Sun is not in detriment, or it's not debilitated in any way, technically. Well, although, Scorpio is the middle of fall, though. Fall is the season where, at least this is for the Northern Hemisphere, but with Sun and Scorpio for the Northern Hemisphere, it's the middle of fall. The whole season of fall is characterized by less daylight than there is darkness. As well as the darkness is increasing, the light is decreasing. For every day within the season of fall, that is true. And that starts out with Libra, where Sun is debilitated, Sun is in fall there. But it continues through Scorpio. So that's where you get this dynamic where technically Sun is not debilitated there. But in a way, it kind of is, though, because, Sun is really not very powerful in any of the fall signs. Like, if anything, maybe Sagittarius is a fire sign, so Sun is kind of all right there. But Libra, Scorpio. So Scorpio, the exact same theme that I was just talking about, that also lends itself to create this whole theme within Scorpio of being into countercultures. Sun's not technically out of place there. Mercury is not either. Mercury's actually pretty strong in Scorpio. Venus is in detriment in Scorpio. But still, I just feel like there's this whole like detriment type energy with Scorpio. Like detriment literally means, when something is kind of in a state of decay. And with Scorpios, those that have Sun in Scorpio, they're born at a time where everything around them is decaying. So that is just what they're used to. Let me think about what my point is. What's my point? I guess my point is that Scorpio, out of any of the signs, they are so into anything counterculture, anything weird, provocative, obscure. That's what Scorpio is all about. So, that's kind of what astrology is all about. Scorpio is very into anything occult. They're into mysticism. They're into spirituality. Scorpio also has this really great combination that I was talking about of, being a deep feeler. They are probably more of a deep feeler than anything, but they've also got this really sharp analytical ability as well. And again, I think that combination of deep feeling with deep thinking is excellent for astrology. Scorpio is also extremely perceptive when it comes to other people. They're very interested in figuring people out, understanding human nature, understanding psychology. I think Scorpio's abilities are superior enough that they don't need to rely on astrology to do those things. But because they do have that interest in understanding people, I think that may incline them toward being a little bit more open to astrology. So yeah, basically everything is just check. I think Scorpio would be very interested in astrology. And honestly, when I'm doing my chart readings, I would say Scorpio is by far the most common sun sign for individuals who are requesting readings. I've had series where I get like or what do you call it? Like I forget what it's called, but I've had like 3 or 4 Scorpio suns, maybe not 4, but I've definitely had 3 Scorpio suns back to back requesting readings. And I go, okay, here's another Scorpio. They just seem to be interested in astrology. Okay, why am I actually out? I feel like I'm out already, but I guess I did kind of mix it up. I did it before Aquarius. Is that why? Or is there one of these that has... Yeah, I guess this is the last one. So that doesn't make sense though. I feel like I'm short one. And honestly, I feel like I could handle another one, but that's okay. So we're about to do Taurus. Okay, this is getting long. I doubt anyone's gonna watch all of this. Okay, Taurus. Okay. I feel like this is pretty straightforward. Taurus is not gonna be open to astrology. Of course, there are some. What's funny is that some of the people that I've become most acquainted with, that comment the most consistently, and that I've become familiar with through my channel and everything, are Tauruses. There are 2 in particular that I know that they're into astrology. They're gonna watch every video I post, etc. But generally speaking, though, Taurus is not the most interested in astrology. Taurus is fixed earth. They are probably the most stubborn sign. If something doesn't immediately make sense to them, they're not going to be interested in it. They don't have any time for anything that's like, obscure or fantastical, something really weird and out there that may or may not be true. There's just no time for that. They would rather just go along with whatever is whatever's tried and true, whatever is factual. Taurus is another one of those signs. It's exactly opposite Scorpio, where Scorpio is all about everything counterculture. Taurus is the opposite of that. They're very vanilla. They're very mainstream. They're not out there. They're gonna go with whatever is the consensus. What does everyone else believe in, etc. Taurus is a sign where Sun, definitely Moon, Mercury, definitely Venus. A lot of these inner planets are at home, so that just points to them being part of the group, part of, they're loved, they're accepted. Not saying that you have to not be loved to be into astrology, but I'm just saying that they're just gonna go with more mainstream topics and interests, generally speaking. So yeah, as a whole, Taurus is gonna be at the bottom. Sorry, Taurus. And sorry to all of those Tauruses out there that love astrology, because I would say the overwhelming majority of Taurus people, Taurus suns, wouldn't be into astrology. But just to play devil's advocate, Taurus is an earth sign. They are kind of introspective. If they're not totally consumed by wealth and their job and this and that, all these like physical metrics of success, if they're not totally consumed by those, they are kind of inward focused. They can be reflective, especially because moon is exalted in Taurus. So if you've got like a Taurus moon person, for example, I could see them being a lot more introspective and intuitive, things like that. Because that moon influence would make them a little bit more open to emotional intelligence and spirituality, things like that. So I could see that side of things, that like lunar side of Taurus. But yeah, Sun in Taurus, not going to be really that interested in astrology. And it's another one of those things where it's not even just about how dumb or fantastical the idea sounds at first glance. It's also just about, Taurus is going to ask, what can I use this idea for in a concrete way? And honestly, it's not concrete. It's the most concrete I can make it is that astrology, mostly what I use it for is for finding greater emotional peace and emotional stability, tranquility, finding the true satisfaction of life and, finding comfort from these patterns out of life. I could see a Taurus moon being into that, but Taurus sun, depending on what it's combined with, of course, I just don't see being that interested in that whole thing. And now I feel so lame because I don't have another half shot. But I've done my time. I've probably consumed too much, right? But it's just so anticlimactic though, because now we've got Virgo, and yeah, sorry Virgo, we're just gonna do Virgo, and we're gonna do it dry. That sounded wrong, but okay, let's do Virgo. I feel like I should at least drink something. I don't have the special water with me, but I'll just have a little lime juice, I guess. Oh boy. Okay. Now I feel like this was a good idea, but I feel like I'm gonna regret it later. But okay, Virgo. Virgo is actually a really interesting one because I've actually had people, like, I'm a Virgo, obviously. If you don't know me, hi, I'm a Virgo. But I've had people tell me, wow, I'm surprised you're even into astrology, because every Virgo I know isn't into astrology. I mean, I could see Virgo, depending on the way I analyze it, I could see Virgo being very open, very interested in astrology, and I could see them being very closed off from astrology. For one, Virgo is generally skeptical of any idea. I think that's actually what makes them such a great intellectual, because they are an earth sign. They want to know, okay, what can I use this for? Whatever they're analyzing, they want to know, is this functional? Is this going to yield me some practical results? However, I do think Virgo is a little bit more open-minded than the other earth signs. Taurus and Capricorn are a little bit different. Virgo is an exception because not only is Virgo the mutable earth sign, Virgo is the only earth sign that is detached. They are intellectual. Taurus and Capricorn are much more instinctual. So they more kind of how do I put this? Like Taurus and Capricorn more judge things kind of instantly. They go off their hunches and they say, okay, I feel this way about something, so that's just what I'm going to go with. Virgo is constantly self-criticizing and self-analyzing and kind of going back, okay, does this make sense? Does it actually make sense? They're much more cut off from those instincts. So they're not going to just judge a situation and go, okay, this is what it is, I'm just going to stick with those hunches. Virgo may initially say, okay, this idea seems kind of out there, this person seems out there, whatever it is. But even though like Virgo will make those initial judgments, but then they'll still be intellectually curious anyway. There is that little bit of curiosity with Virgo. I would say they're more skeptical than they are curious, but there is that kind of theme of curiosity there as well, if that makes sense. One last thing too is that Virgo is very, I touched on this a little bit, but Virgo is very involved, like reflective, and they're constantly digesting and analyzing and processing things. They're constantly ruminating over the past. So all of that makes them potentially very into astrology, because Virgo is also very open to ideas and facts, so they can understand complex concepts. And astrology is a complex concept, but it's something that can help them simplify and understand what they are digesting and seeking to gain a further understanding of, whatever they're processing, etc. So I could see, in short, I could see Virgo being very opposed to astrology, not being interested in it at all, especially if you've got like a very earthy Virgo, for example, or maybe a fiery Virgo. But I could also see Virgo, if you mix some air or water in there, I could also see Virgo being very curious and maybe becoming obsessed with astrology like I have. So in short, I would put Virgo, it's hard not to be biased. It's going to be neutral or curious for sure. It's hard not to be biased because this is the end of the video. We've gone through quite the journey by now. And it would be so much more fitting, like the chart, if you will, the picture would be so much more balanced if I put it there. Be so unbalanced if I put it there, but I don't want that to bias me either. Virgo, curious or neutral? I'm gonna put Virgo in neutral, honestly, because like I said, they are very dry. Even me myself, I initially dismissed astrology, and I am more open-minded than I would say the average Virgo is, because I have a lot of Gemini and air in my chart in general. So overall, Virgo, I could see many Virgos, maybe even most Virgos, just living their lives completely dismissing astrology. If I had to guess, I would say, like, if we're talking about Virgo suns, I'd say like maybe 60% of Virgo suns would just dismiss astrology and say, it sounds like BS, it doesn't initially make sense to me, I have no need for this concept, even though that would be wrong. I would challenge them on that, because I think astrology would be a very useful for a person with Virgo sun. Anyway, so thank you for watching all the way to the end if you did that. If not, it's cool. No hard feelings. My last feeling was a long time ago. No, I'm just kidding. But I hope you had fun. And I don't know how I'm gonna end this, because I just don't know how to end it. But let me know if you agree or disagree with any of these rankings. And have a great day.